Hello and welcome to my writing desk. I wanted to make some kind of quieter, behind the scenes videos to show you both what's been going on in my planning and journaling, along with a bit about real life as well. And the most exciting news for this week is that I have this amazing organiser bag. I've been looking for something for a long time to organise my stationery, and I've had a few things like boxes with compartments in them, and I've enjoyed using those, but they don't really fit in this space where I work. And so I wanted something where I could have not only the stationery that I use for my work, but more of my art materials as well, so that the idea was that it would encourage me to do a bit more creative stuff in and amongst my actual work. So I've been looking for something for ages, and when I finally found this and bought it, I was so pleased with it. I'll put a link below if you're interested, but it was only £10 and it's absolutely perfect for storing my everyday stationery, planner, journal and art stuff. So I'll just go through what I keep in this bag and how I use it, and I'll tell you a few things about what's going on along the way. Okay, so first of all, I have an A4 cutting mat in here. I got this along with what I'll show you in this box as well. When I think maybe a couple of years ago, I did a bookbinding course, and I really enjoyed it actually. I made a few handmade notebooks and kind of enjoyed learning about how they were made and everything like that. I realised I don't want to do that as a serious hobby, but I do make a handmade planner for my partner every year, and so I wanted to keep this stuff, this equipment, and kind of just use it every now and again. And actually it's useful for if you need to repair a notebook or anything like that. So there's a folder, that's just some masking tape, the fabric that goes on the spine of the book, a very sharp paper knife, a glue brush, a pencil, the thread and wax, and this awl that you use to make the holes in the paper, and then just a couple of clips to hold them together. So I don't use this regularly, and actually I'd put it away thinking I'd kind of put it at the back of a drawer somewhere, thinking I won't really use this very often. But then I thought, well, if I put it in my stationery bag, I'm more likely to use it. And also some of this equipment, obviously like the board and the knife, are actually quite handy for other art projects as well. So I've kept this in here, and I'm really looking forward to making this year's teacher planner, because I'm going to do a combination of using an existing notebook as the base of it, but actually adding in a section of printed planner pages that I will then sew together and bind. So that's my project for this summer, which I'm really looking forward to. It's also a 30cm metal ruler, which you need for cutting paper and things like that. So I've kept that in because, again, that's a good quality ruler, which is good for all kinds of different art projects. Next, I have what I call my everyday notebook, and this is one that my son's got me for Christmas actually. But this is never kind of one of my best notebooks that I keep for journaling. I keep one in here that is just for taking meeting notes when I'm on calls, and just making notes about the content and resources that I'm making. So this is just very rough notes for everything. This is just kind of getting my thoughts down on paper. I don't usually use ring-bound notebooks. It's funny because I wouldn't have bought this one for myself, but because it was a present, I really love it actually. I really love the colour. and I tend to buy really quite plain stuff for myself, so it's nice, I think, sometimes when someone buys you something that you wouldn't choose for yourself. So I'm enjoying having something a bit different just for everyday notes. Then next is my watercolour stuff. Now, I got into watercolour a few years ago. I'm not good at it at all. It's not that, that's just a really nice A5 watercolour pad. I don't claim to be good at it, but the one thing I realised a few years ago is that it's one of the few things that can calm my anxiety, and even just painting some leaves or something. And actually my mum bought me this watercolour paint set a few years ago, and I absolutely love it. It's just perfect. And this is one of the things that I just said to my son the other day, who has a lot of art materials, and this is the one thing I won't share. I will not share my watercolour paints with him. He'll have to get his own. But I love the watercolour box, and I think again it's one of those things that having it closer by, I'm more likely to use it. And I keep a little jam jar and some brushes in there as well. So the other thing is this I bought this recently, this 85 watercolour pad, with the intention of getting this out and doing some watercolours and stuff. But I have also started to experiment in my Sterling ink planner. So because I kept hearing people say in the Sterling Ink group that watercolours actually are surprisingly good on this very thin Tamai River paper. A few years ago, my old cat died. We buried her ashes and we planted a tree in our field. And this year the tree has come fully, such a like cherry blossom. This year it's come fully into blossom. Now this photo I printed on my little mini printer, which is only black and white. I'll show you in a minute. But I quite like the contrast of the black and white picture, and then this see, it's not great, but it makes me happy, and it made me happy and very calm to paint this. So this is using watercolours in my Sterling ink on this Tamai River paper. So I'm really happy actually with how that turned out, and it just lifts my spirits a little bit when I look at it. So I'm keeping paints, mixing tray and paintbrushes in here to encourage myself to use them. And also not to feel like I need to start a big painting, but actually just to add a little bit of colour into my planner with paints. And I'm finding that a really, really nice little addition to when I sit down and journal. It's because usually I do so much writing. It's nice every now and again just to swap to a paintbrush and add a little bit of colour, and it just somehow just gets me out of my own head. So that's the plan with the watercolours. Now the mini printer that I just mentioned is this one called Kata Symbol. It wasn't very expensive, just got it off Amazon. I had wanted one for ages. It comes with 3 different sizes of stickers. It's a thermal printer, so it doesn't take any ink. You just put the roll of stickers in like this, but it is only black and white, so it's not brilliant. I think it's better at some things than others. So for example, I've used it recently when I've gone to, I'm trying to use it when I go to talks and things like that. I'll just try and find a couple of examples. So a couple of months ago, I went to see Philippa Gregory give a talk about her book, Normal Women. And so I just wrote a bit about it and printed out the cover of the book. I got a signed copy of that book at the event. So that was just like a way of remembering that event. I did the same a little bit later. That month we went to see Morgan Wade perform live in Manchester. That was absolutely brilliant. One of the best gigs I've seen in a long time. And so I just printed out the tour poster to put that in as a memory. And the other thing I've been doing is printing out the books that I'm reading. So I'm reading quite a bit of Japanese fiction at the moment. So I'm printing out like the cover of each book that I read and then writing a little review. And again, it's a nice reminder of what I've read. It reminds me of the cover. Actually, I think the printer does all right with this kind of stuff. It doesn't do great with photos, but like book covers, you can tell what it is. And it just adds a bit rather than just writing about it. So that's how I've been using this little printer, and that now stays in my stationery bag. Next up, my washi tapes. I have a few more in my desk pencil case, which I'll show you as well, but I try to limit myself to only having enough that fit in this box. Washi tape's one of those things I have to actually stop myself buying when I go into stationery shops, but I have got some nice ones here, and I do use them a lot. So, for example, recently I made a little health and fitness tracker in a pocket notebook, mainly because I've been going to a physio and I have some exercises that I need to remember to do every day. So it's nice to just choose some washi tape that fits. And then I do use washi tape a lot in my journal as well, especially like if I'm doing a spread for a particular holiday, like I did one for Switzerland and did one when we went to Berwick. And I try and kind of use some that reminds me of the theme of either where we're going or what season it is. I keep a stapler, scissors and glue in here as well, just for everyday desk and work stuff. And then I bought this little case as well a couple of months ago. Now, as you can see, I prefer to keep my planner bare, if you like, without a cover and without a case. But when I go away somewhere, like when we go on holiday, then I know it's a bit over the top. I worry about it. I worry about it getting wet. Like if it's in the bag with all our family stuff, I worry about the kids' drinks leaking over it and things like that. But I do prefer it without a cover. I like it to become kind of look used throughout the year. So I just bought this zip case, which fits it perfectly, and actually fits quite a few pens and things in there as well. So I got this. We went up to Berwick in Northumberland over the Easter holidays. We did some really great things, like went on a boat trip, and like on the boat trip I want to take it with me, I want to make notes. I usually have it with me more than I don't, so it's quite nice. I found that when I'm at home I don't need this at all, but when I'm on holiday and we're out and about and we're on trips, boats, buses, things like that, I've got something to just put it in, and it makes me feel a bit better that it's not going to get damaged. Post-it notes, I like to keep a few in here. I always like to have some handy. I do use them quite a lot actually. For example, at the moment I'm working on this next online course that I'm creating, and this is about second or third draft, and it's got notes and post-it notes, scribbles all over it. So this is kind of how I work, and that before it gets to a final version. So I like to keep some post-it notes just in here that I can grab them when I'm doing proofreading and things like that. I just keep a 4-colour pen and a very fine Sharpie in there as well. There's a couple of things just to grab for every day working at my desk. And then I keep this set of pencils in as well. So this is a set of 6 sketching pencils, and again, I don't think that I'm very good at drawing at all, but what I'm trying to do is, we've been going on loads of walks lately. We're very fortunate where we live. We've got a lot of amazing walks on our doorstep. We've been finding all sorts of new paths around the countryside, and what I've been trying to do, not very successfully, but trying nonetheless, to when we get back to just sketch a few things, either from memory or just from a photo that I've taken when we were on a walk or something like that. So again, keeping these sketching pencils in here just encourages me to be a little bit more creative, not always use words, but sometimes use drawing instead. I've got really nice set of pencil crayons. I would say these are brand new actually, because again, in fact I had the exact same set of pencil crayons, but it was a larger set. So this is a set of 18. I did have a set of 24 pencil crayons just like this, which I loved and had in a separate pencil case and everything. And my son has since adopted those, so we were sharing them for a while, but I can never find where he's put them in the house. So I said, do you know what, you just keep them and I'll buy myself a new set. So now I have to keep these away from him. But yeah, I think pencil crayons are probably my favourite kind of art thing to use for drawing, sketching. I think in general it's probably my favourite thing, beyond just a regular pen. It's my favourite thing to use in my planner. So I do things like, this was inspired by our trip to Bruges last year, and then I have this, I've shared this in some of my earlier videos, but I have a snapshot page, so it's just a highlight from a highlight. It's not necessarily like a positive thing, it's just like a snapshot of the main thing that happened that day. So I have that for each month, and most of these months I've used pencil crayons to colour it. That one was a bit more pen, but this one for March, for example, I was just trying to draw lots of different types of flowers. And then April, this is my attempt at a dry stone wall and some daffodils. So now I have my own set again, and they will stay in there safely, safe from anybody pinching them again. And then coloured fine liners. I love these as well. In fact, I love this set. This isn't quite all of them. I'll show you where I keep just a few to keep them handy as well. But these fine liners are my favourites that I've found over the years. The Staedtler Triplus fine liner. I think it's a really good selection of colours. And again, what I've tried to do is use them to add a little bit of colour into my planner. But I'm trying to get a bit more inspired by colour. Again, just move away from black and grey and things like that, and dark blue. I tend to lean towards darker colours, which is fine, but I just want to add a little bit of colour into my planner, because also I've realised when I add a bit of colour, I'm more likely to then look back at it and enjoy looking at what I've created. So on another trip that we took when we were up in Berwick was up to Berwick Lighthouse. So I thought I'd experiment with these fine liners to sketch the lighthouse from a video that I'd taken. So that's how I'm kind of using the fine liners, just to add a little bit more colour into here. And those are the main things that go in my stationery bag, but I do have a smaller pencil case which I'll just run through as well. Now I keep this one on my desk all the time, whereas this larger bag sits down at the side of my desk, and it goes up in a cupboard at night time. But my planner and this pencil case are always together, and they travel round the house with me and when I go out and everything like that. So this stationery bag stays at home, although I might take it on holiday if we go on holiday in the UK. But these two things are the things I carry around everywhere. If I'm going to sit in another room for a bit, or I'm going away for the weekend, or just on a day trip, I usually take these two things with me. So in the pencil case itself, I just have basically a selection of the things that I use. I have a ruler, a Tipex mouse, a pencil sharpener, a 4-colour pen, pencil, 2 black fine liners which I use for the detail in my journaling. So I've got a 02 and a 04, these micron pens, which are very, very good. And then I have my highlighters, which I've shared how I use these in other videos. But basically I have a colour for the 4 different areas of my life. So my consultancy work is green, resources is pink, health is orange, and connections, which family and friends, is yellow. And that corresponds to the planner section here where it's highlighted. So yellow is a day off or holiday, pink is a day dedicated to writing, creating resources. Greens are my consultancy days, and I'm trying to get better at putting in the odd health day where I don't do either my paid work or my resources work, but instead just have a day to do, well, this creative stuff and things like that. And then I do keep a few coloured fine liners in here, and I just swap them out every now and again. I just keep 4 or 5 in here so that I've got some with me. When I get bored of these colours, I just swap them for some others. So I've got some when I'm out and about. And then finally, probably my favourite section of this pencil case is my stickers. I do keep usually 2 or 3 washi tapes in here as well, again, so I've just got some when I'm out and about. And I have some tweezers, which I don't always use, but it is actually quite nice to have them when you've got some more kind of delicate stickers. These stickers are all from Wild Bird UK on Etsy, and I love them so much I've ordered several times from her. I really like these square kind of stamp-like, or mini Polaroids, I don't know, but there's lots that I like which are either seasonal or countryside. So these are all autumn ones, so I really like these square stickers, but I have ordered a few different things from her as well, but they're just beautiful stickers, and they're matte as well rather than shiny, which just looks so nice in my journal. And then I also keep the stickers that I've printed off my mini printer ready to go in. So these are books that I'm reading at the moment or reading next, and then, as I've shown you before, I'll stick them in and write a little review or just some takeaway notes from those books. So I'll keep my stickers and a couple of washi tapes in the front, and that is that's my portable journal and planner setup. And then this bigger bag here is everything else, which mainly stays at home. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed sharing what I'm using, what I'm enjoying at the moment, and yeah, I'd love to know if you have an organiser, or how you keep all your stationery, planner stuff, art stuff kind of organised, or if you're still looking for something that works. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and thanks for watching. See you next time.